stand up for something. They scared to lose their fucking house. Or they scared to lose their record deal. I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal.
They computer heads wanted to do was say, okay, look, we don't want to date you. I'm like, I'm still young. What are you talking about? Well, we don't want to talk about all that stuff in Sugar Hill. So they kind of gag ordered me not to talk about it.
He really had to wrestle with the idea that he's in an industry where not only can that happen, but it had happened to him.
D'Angelo's death has the whole music world in shock. But if you dig a little deeper, his story gets way darker than most people realize. Kanye West has been dropping hints about this for years, and now it's all starting to make sense. D'Angelo didn't just vanish from the spotlight out of nowhere. His career was taken from him, almost like a sacrifice. He went silent for over a decade between Voodoo and Black Messiah, battling personal demons, relentless pressure, and some seriously shady industry moves that nobody wanted to talk about.
Bill's manager would go behind his back and work out a secret deal with Clive Davis. The manager, knowing the history between Angie and D'Angelo, he didn't want them on the same label, so he made a deal with Clive saying that if D'Angelo comes, she needs to leave.
Kanye's been speaking out for years about the dark side of the music world, the secret rituals, the humiliation, and those so-called sacrifices that go down behind closed doors. And while D'Angelo wasn't literally sacrificed, a lot of people believe the industry took him out in another way, by tearing down his career when he refused to follow their twisted rules. But here's where it gets even darker. His ex, Angie Stone, started spilling all the secrets, even naming names, right before she tragically died in that strange car crash earlier this year.
Today, after 40-something years in the business, I'm like, well, why? Where are my royalties going? Because I'm not getting this. Come to find out, Universal Music has been receiving all my royalties.
D'Angelo exploded onto the scene in the mid-1990s with Brown Sugar, and from that moment, soul music was never the same again. He wasn't just another R&B singer. He revived that 70s soul energy and blended it into the 90s like nobody else could. Then came Voodoo in 2000, and fans went absolutely wild. By then, it was obvious D'Angelo wasn't just talented, he was a musical genius of his generation. What made it even crazier? He did it his way. He played most of the instruments himself, bled emotion into every note, and refused to sell out just to give the industry the cookie-cutter hits they wanted.
People do want to put you on that pedestal, like you are the spokesperson for all black people. They're depending on you, and they're counting on you. It's enough just navigating and coping through the change in your life that happens when you become a celebrity or somebody that is, quote-unquote famous. Just that within itself is a huge paradigm shift.
But that same raw authenticity that made D'Angelo special also made him a target in the game. The music industry doesn't like rebels. They want control, plain and simple. They reward artists who will stick to the formula. Flashy parties, catchy, sexy songs, and carefully crafted images. But D'Angelo wasn't built like that. He was spiritual, grounded, and wanted his music to mean something. And that's exactly when things started going left. We've all heard the stories about powerful names like Clive and Diddy throwing those exclusive industry parties, cutting secret deals, and recruiting artists into their so-called inner circle. Well, word is they wanted D'Angelo in that club badly, but he refused. He wouldn't play their game or compromise his beliefs no matter how much pressure they put on him. Even Angie Stone later hinted that after their breakup, she discovered some seriously shady stuff about what D'Angelo was allegedly being pushed to do, and it was nothing a real soul man should ever have to face.
Of course, D'Angelo and I were very good friends. I need for you to know that as wonderful as that friendship has been, it came with a lot of challenges. And I'll tell you the nature of the industry based on a secret that I recently found out from someone who is credible that let me in on some things that I didn't know even up until lately. And I have to tell you, it was shocked just to find out.
Nobody really knows if D'Angelo ever got dragged into that wild industry world or if he managed to shut it down before they trapped him. But what we do know is that his life took a dark turn fast. Suddenly, There were stories of substance use, weight gain, and even arrests. Everyone saw the downfall, but barely anyone connected it to the heavy pressure he was under behind the scenes. This wasn't just about personal struggles, it was systemic. Insiders have whispered that certain execs tried to pull him into situations where he'd be forced to bend. Think Diddy's infamous parties and those flashy collabs that weren't really about music at all, but about control. That's what people mean when they talk about industry sacrifices. They don't have to take you out physically. They can break you mentally, drain your spirit, and wipe you right out of the spotlight if you don't obey. And that's exactly what Kanye's been shouting about for years. The rituals, the punishments, and the price of speaking your truth. The industry loves turning rebels into cautionary tales. They make examples out of any artist who dares to step out of line. D'Angelo came into the game as a revolutionary, full of light and raw soul. But by the time he walked away, something deep had changed. It was clear something went down behind closed doors that made him want nothing to do with that world anymore. And when you look at what Angie Stone went through, the story turns even darker. Just when she started calling out the people who wronged her, the ones who allegedly stole from her and blackballed her, tragedy struck. Angie had been naming names, exposing shady moves, and speaking directly against the powers running the industry. Then out of nowhere, she dies in that mysterious car crash. After publicly blasting Universal Music Group and others she claimed were part of the setup.
Where are my royalties going? Because I'm not getting this. Come to find out, Universal Music has been receiving all my royalties. They've taken pretty much everything. They've stolen, but they have taken all the monies that were due to me. They have basically absorbed in that company, even though there's several class action lawsuits, people that were working on my behalf never even registered the songs, all the songs that I've done. I'm only coming to find out they were not.
Angie refused to stay quiet. She spoke her truth loud and clear. And then, just like that, she was gone, only 7 months before D'Angelo passed. When you start connecting the dots between D'Angelo's breakdown, Angie's warnings, and her mysterious death, the picture gets real disturbing. There's a pattern here. The industry preys on its own, especially black artists, pressuring them to trade their values for fame so they're easier to control. And when they say no, the system turns on them, careers vanish, doors close, and lives fall apart. D'Angelo stood firm in his faith, wanting his music to reflect his spirit. And that's exactly what made him dangerous.
When I first heard your music, the first thing I said was, this nigga had been in a black church somewhere.
Sir.
So I was not at all surprised to find out when you hit that groove where you had come from. But just talk to me about that experience.
It totally informs everything that I do. When I go out on the stage, I bring that with me. Everyone has their own way of reaching that place. But my way has always been that. When I come on the stage with that authority from that source, there's nothing that can touch that. Before we go out on stage, we pray.
But the industry had completely different plans for D'Angelo. They didn't want a man of faith pouring his heart into real music. They wanted chart toppers, flashy images, and over-the-top sexual appeal. They wanted control, not truth, and definitely not a soulful man singing about Jesus.
Women went crazy wanting to touch and feel on him and pull at his stuff. They will pull his shirt so hard that it would choke him. So we decided we would put slits in the back of his t-shirts. So when they pull it, it'll just come off easily and not choke him to death.
Remember when Kanye claimed that some artists are forced to sign contracts banning them from talking about Jesus or anything spiritual? Well, word on the street is D'Angelo was asked to sign one of those exact contracts too. They allegedly wanted to strip the soul right out of his music and silence the part of him that was most real.
Already signing a contract and selling our souls. They got contracts out there that say you can't say Jesus. When we was working on this album, people used to be coming over the studio just to say Jesus as loud as they wanted to. You can say Jesus in your studio.
There's a part in a Rock Nation contract that says that people are not allowed to sing about Christ. So I'll be wondering, I'll be like, yo, God, why? Why have you swung my sword?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you came in the game with Jesus Walsh.
Like, why? There's a part.
When people hear Illuminati in the music world, they picture secret societies and wild sacrifices. But the truth is way more subtle and way more real. It's often a code for the hidden power structure that runs the industry. The execs, the managers, and those shady contracts that quietly control everything an artist says, wears, or even sings about. And D'Angelo's story slides right into that setup. The high-pressure parties, the elite circles, the constant pressure to obey. It all sounds like part of those so-called industry rituals. When you refuse to play along, they don't just ignore you. They isolate you, humiliate you, and slowly destroy your career until you disappear. D'Angelo wasn't just a musician. He was a man fighting to keep his soul in a business built to take it. He stood strong, but the price was brutal. Years of being blackballed, endless public scrutiny, and constant whispers about what really happened behind the scenes. And when you piece it all together, Angie Stone's chilling warnings, her sudden death, and Kanye's ongoing revelations, it becomes clear this industry's darkness runs way deeper than most people could ever imagine. It's not always about literal sacrifices. It's about the symbolic ones the industry forces on anyone who dares to stay real. They'll strip you of creative freedom, peace of mind, and the momentum you worked your whole life for, all because you refused to play by their rules. But even through all that, D'Angelo built a legacy that no system could erase. From Brown Sugar to Black Messiah, his music still hits deep, still inspires, and still reminds people what true soul sounds like. One fan said on X, D'Angelo dropped Brown Sugar, then had writer's block for years. Then came Voodoo. After that, he battled personal struggles for over a decade, and then came Black Messiah. His life and art proved that beauty can rise from pain. D'Angelo's journey wasn't just about music. It was a battle for integrity, for truth, for faith. And while his art lives on, his story stands as a warning for every artist who dares to walk the path of honesty in a world built on control. In the music world, talent alone ain't enough. Not when the game's built to break anyone who refuses to fall in line. Stand your ground and you'll pay the price, even if it takes decades for the damage to show. The industry can be cold, and even the most gifted, spiritual, and fearless artists end up paying a steep price just for staying real. So what do you think? Were D'Angelo's career struggles just bad timing? Or was he caught up in a bigger pattern of so-called industry sacrifices? And with Angie Stone's death happening only months before his, does that really sound like a coincidence to you? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. And I'll catch you in the next one.